Hi everybody, welcome back to Valharik Visits. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Ash of God's Redemption. So this is a turn-based strategy game by Aurum Dust, and it's very reminiscent of the Banner Saga. If you played that at all, it uses the same rotoscoping technology for all of its visuals. So that's where they have like actual actors go into a studio, record them moving, and then have an artist draw the character images and whatnot over the motion capture. I believe that's how it works anyway. So I'll take a quick run through of this game. I think the art style is great. I really like the story. I found even the audio, the music and everything to be really cool. So I'll let you listen to that for a little bit. Quick check of the options. You turn blood on and off. Auto battle. If you really are not somebody that enjoys the battle portion of these types of games, you can play through having just the AI do the battles for you and essentially go through the story that way. You can clear dialogue history, so if you play multiple playthroughs, this game will actually show you which dialogue selections you picked in previous playthroughs. If you don't want that, say somebody else played on your computer and you don't want to know which selections they picked, you can reset that essentially. Plenty of different language options you saw there. Video is pretty standard. Sound, like I said, this is I really like the sound. When you talk to characters, they'll just grunt in this. There's only some scripted cutscenes that have actual voiceover, but I'll let you listen to the soundtrack a little bit here before I go to the next screens. Pretty cool. So here's the just background information on all the different characters you've found or visited. Cutscenes. Not a ton of them in this game that are long enough that they let you rewatch them. I'll actually show you this first one here. I think it's pretty cool, and this literally is like when you start the game, this is the first thing that happens. So I'll just let you kind of watch through it. pretty badass, right? I mean, that sets the stage for, you know, the whole game, kind of, in my opinion. You know, bunch of characters kicking ass, you know, big powerful enemy, and just, you know, the art style, the audio. It's just a cool cutscene, and the game is just pretty cool in that same regard. So if we take a look here, starting up from one of my previous saves, this is very early in the game, maybe an hour in. You can see, I'll show you here, it's a huge map, lots of individual locations to explore. At the top there, you got a day tracker, morale, Strixes, which are kind of your energy, and then you can look at here, so I'm at the watchtower. I got 2 different places I can go. I can go Miller's Track or drive Riverbed to get to either Serpent Creek or the Dead Spring. So the games like this now, you'll pick, you know, one of these on this playthrough. You may end up going to the other place at some point during the game, but not necessarily. So there's some replay ability, even though for the most part you're going to end up getting to the same end location. How you get there can be different from one playthrough to the next. So there's replayability, but just like any good story-driven role-playing / strategy game, it's still fairly linear. A lot of the game's going to have conversations like you just saw there. This is looking at your camp screen, so you can talk to the people in your group. You can go into squad management here, switch out characters, so your main combat group is going to be made up of 6 people. But right now, like, I have 8, so I can switch out. I think I'll put Flit, the archer, in instead of Krieger. Items, you know, you'll get items throughout this game. Some of them you'll find, some of them you can buy. They, you know, most of them are like bonus hit points, bonus energy, you know, make you faster, do extra damage, that kind of stuff. But there are some that are a little bit more interesting. Some might heal you, that kind of thing. You also start each combat with a set of cards that are like one-time use, almost spells. The more powerful they are, the longer you're going to have to wait into the battle to use them. They have like an activation round where, you know, all of the ones I have here can be activated on round 1. But some of the other ones, you're going to have to wait to be able to use them. If you look at the actual character screen here, I like the animation. You know, for the most part, your characters are just standing there, but their hair is moving, they're blinking, they're breathing, that kind of stuff. Pretty basic stats: attack, health, energy, which you mainly use for your abilities, and then you have a walk speed and a run speed. So like this guy can move 3, but then he could go another 3 running at the expense of some energy. Most screens will have a question mark you can click to kind of get a little more information if you're not real familiar with the, you know, these types of games. Looking at your actual skills, you get skill points whenever you go up levels, and you can use them to buy these bonus abilities. Some of them are pretty straightforward, you know, an increased health, but like this one that I selected increases my knockback ability. It has a lower cooldown, and I can use it earlier in the combat. You can look at biographies for all your character if you're into, you know, really engrossing yourself in the storyline. You can also heal there. If you have injured people, you can go into your camp and heal up. So I'll show you here. I'll go until we go through a combat, I think. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time reading or making, you know, tough decisions on all of the choices that come up, but because I don't want to spoil that much of the story for you. So here you can see this option number 2. I've already done that in a previous playthrough. That's why it's kind of grayed out. I still could select it, but if you want to kind of see more of the story, or make your story a little bit different on a second or third playthrough, you can select the ones that are not grayed out. So, and like I said when I was talking about the option screen, you can reset that in case you either don't want to know what you chose in the past, or if you're playing on a shared computer and your brother's already finished the game, you want to go through without any influence, you can do that. So I'm just traveling along here. You've got a reaping track there in the top right. That's kind of your difficulty, and I won't spoil how that changes, but there's a mechanic kind of in the game that you can basically choose to make one part of the game more difficult to prevent that overall difficulty track from increasing, or you can say, no, I want to make sure this part is still a little bit easier, but my overall game's going to get tougher. And the enemies will get tougher when that reaping meter goes up, as well as the AI's intelligence. So at the low reaping meter, the AI isn't real smart. They'll just kind of run into your tanks and attack people that have high defense, that kind of thing. But I never in my playthrough got it too high, but I know from reading like the dev notes that at higher levels the AI gets smarter. So I think that's cool. I'm not sure how well it works, but I like the idea of it. So you've got these kind of little mini cutscenes. They're cool. They sometimes take a little while. It's same as the Banner Saga. When your group's moving, it's kind of slow. And it's like, okay, move on to the next point. But really, you're only talking an extra 20 seconds instead of an immediate change. I think that's fine, especially just to have kind of a cool aesthetic, and I think it really helps add to the, you're a party of people kind of trudging across the continent, in search of your quest, So here I'm going to have a little fight. It won't be a terribly difficult one, and there's no like bosses or anything, so it's not really going to spoil too much, but I think it will show you that the battles can be, fairly different based on like terrain and that stuff. So this battle's going to take place on a bridge that's only two squares wide. So it changes how you can play, especially with I've got a fair number of like melee characters in this squad, and you can't move through other units in this, and you can't move diagonally. So you have to be a little careful not to cut your people off, which of course I did in this battle. You'll see in a round or two. So beginning, you can rearrange your people. They're not set in stone where the computer lays them down. I'm going to put Sop, my kind of tank, up in the front, move my archers to the back, that kind of stuff, basic moves. And the way this game combat works, which some people criticize this, I think actually thematically it can kind of work. and I'll explain that in a second. But so I've got 6 people on my team, and I've got my 5 spell cards here. They've got 5 characters, and I think they probably have a few spells too. Now, every turn goes back and forth. So I get a turn, they get a turn. I can either play a spell card, which I'm going to do right here. I like to start off my battles with this Touch of Chaos. Does a little damage to one of their guys, gives all my people a small boost of energy, and gives one of my people at random an attack buff. But that took my whole turn. Then they got a turn. And it goes back and forth like that. And around each side has their own rounds, essentially. So your round completes when each of your characters have acted. Cards are separate. So if I just do 6 rounds moving my 6 different characters, that round will complete, and then I'll be able to use those characters again. There's no set turn order. I can pick, at this point, I could pick any of my people. I'm moving Sop, but I could have moved any of the other ones. Now, he won't be able to go again until all my other 5 people have gone. I could cast some spells in between there too, but any character that has moved or taken an action can't act again until the rest of your guys have gone. Now, where people complain is that it's the same for the enemies, and if you, so say I've got all 6 of my guys and I kill 4 of their 5 people, that 5th person is going to go after every one of my people goes. So it's not like I get 6 actions, they get 1. It's still going to be 1 to 1 to 1 to 1. And yeah, it makes it so that that character is acting many times, which bothers some people. But it's not too bad, because usually at that point you're going to take people out pretty quick, and it adds a little bit of strategy, I think, too. You got to make sure that you don't leave one powerful enemy for like their last guy. You kind of want to take out their tough guys quickly, or drop every one of their people down to almost dead and then kill them all off quickly. Because, you know, if you leave one guy that can do massive damage on every turn to the last one of their guys, they're going to do massive damage every time their turn comes up. But if he's one of 7 guys, he's only going to get to go 1 out of every 7 of those turns, as long as you're not killing other people. So kill him off first, you know, so that you have a higher chance of surviving, because everybody that you left are their weaker opponents. So there's some strategy there, and I think you can actually use it to your advantage in that I believe you can bring in less than 6 people if you really wanted. I don't know if I've ever tested that, but I think you can. But the people that you don't bring in aren't getting experience, so if you do need them later on, they're not going to be able to keep up. So I don't know if that's a viable strategy. And another thing I really do like about this turn method is, in this game you've got this party that you're seeing right now, and then you've got 2 other parties that you play off and on throughout the game. You really have kind of 3 storylines going together. You know, they're separately through most of the game, and then near the end of the game they all kind of converge. And, you know, one of those parties in particular is most of the time a single character, and he's kind of a badass when he's fighting, because he's going every other move. He's got powerful abilities, and you really have a sense of, okay, this guy's a hero. You know, he can wade through a swarm of weak enemies by, you know, just killing one after the other, because he's going, you know, 5 times for every 1 time the opponents are going, that kind of thing. So I think whether you like the method of turns in this or not, in that case, it really enhances the feeling of power, you know, for that character, and I think that's kind of cool. So a little bit about combat. You'll see everybody's got a red health bar and a yellow energy bar. So most of your skills will take energy. Some of them will actually take health, and you'll have to be careful using those. Like the archers that are in the back, they have some powerful attacks that actually drain their health. Now, again, thematically, does that make sense? Probably not. That's going to bother some people. You know, why does my archer lose half his health when he does a strong bow shot? It doesn't make any sense. But it does play well, because it makes it so you have to think, you know, I can do a strong shot and kill this powerful enemy, but it's going to leave me very vulnerable. You know, I'm going to have to make sure that I keep my tanks in front of my archers to keep them alive. And, you know, you really have to consider what you're doing. Now, another factor in this game is you've got health and energy. When you attack, as you can see right there, you pick, do I want to attack against their health or their energy? When their energy is depleted, their health will take double damage, as long as you keep selecting energy as your target. I don't know why the programmers didn't make it automatic that you do double damage to health once energy's down, because if I deplete somebody of their energy, I still get that pop-up that says, do you want to attack their health or their energy? If I attack their health, I'll do normal damage. If I attack their energy, I'll do double damage, assuming their energy's gone. That's kind of frustrating. I've seen people comment on how they don't know why you would attack energy, and it's because they don't realize that they have to keep attacking energy to do that double damage once it's drained. You can have defense. So if you see my Sop, that guy that's in the front, or my guy with the shield there, Thorin, they have little shields up by their health and energy. That's essentially, they'll reduce any incoming damage by that amount, which is pretty powerful. But most of the time, the characters don't have that innately. You have to use abilities usually to get it, and those abilities will last until they take their next turn, and then there's a cooldown before you're able to use them again, generally. So it's another layer of strategy. You know, the Thorin, this main guy, he's got a kind of shield slam ability that I used right at the beginning of the battle. I generally will try and use that to start the fight. And he'll run up, he'll smash his shield down, he'll hit everybody around him and push him back, and he'll give himself an armor bonus. And then I'll have him be the first person of mine that goes. He runs in, does that, and then I'll have him probably not go again until like near the end of my next round, so that he's got that defense bonus up for as long as I can. And it works pretty well, especially, like I said, on these lower, when the reaping difficulty meter is low. the enemy is not smart enough to avoid your people that have high defense. So it's a pretty good strategy. But you're still, I mean, unless you can get your defense up high enough that you're taking literally no damage from attacks, which can happen, but it takes some work. There's still a good chance that your tanks will go down. You know, Sop is almost down here. He'll get a wound after this battle probably. So you got to be a little bit careful. One thing you also want to be careful of is your own health and energy from your attacks. I mentioned like the archers, them using or health for their attacks, but so do a lot of your frontline people. So, you know, do you do just a basic attack that isn't going to do as much damage? It's not going to have strong effects that go off, but you're also not going to hurt yourself by using it. Or do you go with the bigger effects to try and take the enemies out faster? And the faster you take them out, the less total attacks they're going to get. So there's a bit of a give and take there. You can see at the top there's a timer. I don't really know why. I think it resets every turn. I don't know if it really does anything. It makes sense in like the multiplayer, but I don't know if it really makes much sense in the single player. What else about combat? So that guy retaliated there. Normally guys don't retaliate in this, but some of these enemies, and like Sop, the guy that went down, does have a retaliate ability, so that if somebody adjacent to him hits him, he'll strike back. I generally feel like defend and staying live is better than retaliating, because like I said, they're gonna get an action after every one of yours. It's just a matter of who's gonna take it. So using retaliate to take people out faster, I don't feel has as big a benefit as using defend to just not take damage in general. You can see when I move, there will be a certain number of blue squares I can move to, and then some orange ones. So if you move in the blue ones, that's a walk, doesn't affect your energy at all. But if you move into the orange ones, it does drain a little bit of energy. So you can run and move faster to get into position. Doesn't take your action. You can still attack after running. It literally just drains some of your energy. Like I said, you can't move through living people. You can move on to, obviously, as you can see, move on to people that have gone down. So you're not totally restricted. So victory, I got some Strixes, I got some gold. I got a cure card. Now you have to collect a certain number of cards before you can use that new card you got, new spell. So I probably have to collect, 4 cure cards before I'm actually able to cast that cure. I think you can buy them, when you get to merchants. Some, they'll have a variety of things to purchase, some of which can be cards. I'm not going to show you much more here. I don't want to spoil any more of the story. What's left to talk about? Morale, I don't know if I really talked too much about it. The overall group has a morale. Right now mine's low, but that doesn't have a penalty associated with it yet. Each individual character can also have their own morale, and the higher the morale, the more benefits you get. The lower the morale, the more penalties you'll get during combat. So you just want to kind of monitor it and try not to piss all your people off, because it'll lower their morale. Anyway, that's Ash of God's Redemption. Tried to keep this fairly quick. I really like the game. I think it was one of my favorite games of the last like 2 years. I like the art style. I like the music, the storyline. I will say the dialogue's not great. The translation isn't perfect. I'm not sure where this was made, but overall, I really like the game. I'd say check it out. Anyway, this is Valharik. See you next time.